"I can fix this," whispered the grease-stained boy, looking at the luxury car. The millionaire burst into cruel laughter, but in seconds, that boy would do the unthinkable and silence everyone. The Rolls-Royce Phantom's engine exploded in smoke on Yonge Street, causing a traffic jam that stretched for 5 blocks. Arthur Sterling slammed the steering wheel with such force that the gold ring on his finger scraped the imported leather. That car had cost 500,000 CAD, and now it stood like junk in broad daylight, exposing his vulnerability for all to see. "This can't be happening," he murmured, feeling sweat trickle down his forehead despite the air conditioning still working. Around him, drivers honked mercilessly, some shouting insults from their windows. Arthur wasn't used to being treated this way. He owned Sterling Luxury Motors, one of the largest luxury car import companies in the country, and now his own car betrayed him in front of hundreds of people. He grabbed his cell phone and dialed the official dealership. "I need a tow truck now. My Phantom stalled on Yonge." "Mr. Sterling, our specialized tow truck is currently in service. It may take up to 2 hours," the operator replied with irritating professional calm. 2 hours? Are you crazy? I'm not staying here for 2 hours being humiliated. "I'm sorry, sir, but that's the estimated time." Arthur hung up on her, feeling rage boil. He looked in the rearview mirror and saw the line of cars forming, people filming with cell phones. This would become news, memes, jokes. The great Arthur Sterling, luxury car expert, with his own car broken down on the street. That's when someone knocked on the window. Arthur turned, ready to yell at whoever it was, but stopped when he saw a boy of about 12, covered in grease, wearing an old, torn t-shirt. His messy hair fell over brown eyes that looked at him with strange intensity. "Do you need help, sir?" the boy asked, his voice thin but firm. Arthur opened the window just enough to respond. "Get out of here, kid. I don't accept handouts." "I'm not asking for handouts, sir. I'm offering help with the car." The laugh that came from Arthur's mouth was cruel and loud. "Help? You, a dirty squirt, want to help with a Rolls-Royce Phantom?" Leo Benoit didn't flinch. He was used to that kind of reaction. "I know what's happening from the sound the engine made before it stopped and from the smoke. It's an overheating cooling system. Probably the water pump seized." Arthur stopped laughing. How could this kid know that? "Listen, kid," he said, opening the door and stepping out of the car. He was 6'1", almost twice Leo's height. "I don't know what little game you're playing, but this car is worth more than your house. I'm not letting you lay a dirty finger on it." "So, you prefer to stay here until the tow truck arrives?" Leo asked, pointing to the line of cars that kept growing. "Because from what I see, it's going to take a while." Arthur looked around. People were already getting out of their cars complaining, some approaching with cell phones to film. This was turning into a public spectacle. "My dad works there." Leo pointed to a small, dirty garage a few meters away. "We've been repairing cars for years. Can I at least take a look?" "Your dad?" Arthur laughed again. "That back alley garage? What do you fix, old Civics minivans? This is a Rolls-Royce, kid. You have no idea of the complexity." At that moment, 3 men in suits approached. They were Arthur's partners, who were in a car right behind and had witnessed the entire scene. "Arthur, what's going on?" asked Brendan Thorne, trying not to laugh at the situation. "The Phantom broke down," Arthur replied, embarrassed. "And this squirt?" asked another partner, looking Leo up and down with disdain. "He says he can fix it," Arthur said, and the 3 burst into laughter. "Oh, I have to see this," said Brendan, pulling out his cell phone to record. "The kid from the small-time garage is going to fix the luxury car expert's Rolls-Royce." "Make your jokes," Leo said, his voice still calm, but with a hint of challenge. "But if I fix it, how much will you pay me?" Arthur looked at the boy with a mix of surprise and amusement. "Are you challenging me? I'm offering a service. Every service has a price." "All right," Arthur said, crossing his arms. "If you, a 1-2-year-old squirt, manage to get this $500,000 car working again, I'll pay you 5,000 CAD. The partners laughed even louder. 5,000? "Arthur, have you lost your mind? Relax. He won't do it, but it'll be fun to watch him try." Leo showed no emotion. 7,000. "What?" Arthur almost choked. 7,000 CAD. It's a fair price for the work and for the public humiliation I'm suffering right now. Arthur looked at his friends, who were recording everything and laughing. This was already becoming content for their social media. "All right, kid, 7,000. But when you fail, you clean my car for free for a month. Deal?" Leo extended his grease-stained hand. "Deal." Arthur looked at the hand with disgust but shook it anyway, just to keep the show going. "You may begin your spectacle," he said with a sarcastic bow. Leo didn't waste time. He ran to the garage and returned with a toolbox that seemed bigger than him. He placed it on the ground next to the Rolls-Royce and opened the hood with an ease that surprised even Arthur. "He's actually going to do it," Brendan murmured, filming every movement. Leo immersed himself in the engine as if he knew every part by heart. His small hands moved with surgical precision, disconnecting hoses, checking connections, testing components. There was no hesitation, no wasted movement. "See?" he said after a few minutes, pointing to a specific part. "Seized water pump." "Exactly as I said." Arthur approached, incredulous. He had really diagnosed the problem correctly. "Diagnosing is easy," he said, trying to regain control of the situation. "Fixing is another story." "Watch," Leo simply replied. What happened in the next 15 minutes left everyone in silence. Leo disassembled the water pump with impressive speed, cleaned the components, replaced a part he had brought from the garage, and reassembled everything with the precision of a clockmaker. His fingers moved so fast it was hard to follow. "This is impossible," Brendan murmured, stopping his laughter. "He's just a kid who knows what he's doing," added the other partner, genuinely impressed. Arthur said nothing, just watched, feeling something strange in his chest. It wasn't admiration, he refused to admit it, it was confusion. How could that boy know so much? "Done," Leo said, closing the hood and wiping his hands on an old rag. "You can start it." "I can start it?" Arthur repeated, incredulous. "Do you really think?" "Start the car, Arthur," Brendan said. "Let's see if the kid is a wizard or a charlatan." Arthur got into the car, his heart pounding. He didn't know what he wanted more, for the car to work or for it not to work. He turned the key, and the Rolls-Royce Phantom's engine roared to life with perfection, smooth and powerful as the day it left the factory. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the people who were honking stopped to process what they had just witnessed. "No, it's not possible," Arthur murmured, looking at the dashboard that showed all systems working perfectly. Leo closed his toolbox. 7,000 CAD, as agreed. Arthur got out of the car, his mind still trying to process what had happened. The partners were dumbfounded, their cell phones still recording. How did you learn to do this?" Arthur asked, and for the first time, there was no mockery in his voice. "My dad taught me," Leo replied. "I've been working with him since I was 7. I've already repaired over 200 cars." "What? You're 12 years old. And you? How old are you? 40? 50? And you couldn't even diagnose your own car's problem?" The response was like a slap. The partners laughed, but this time it wasn't at Leo, it was at Arthur. "Pay the kid, Arthur," Brendan said. "He earned it." Arthur took out his wallet, still stunned. He counted out 7,000 CAD in bills and handed them to Leo, who took the money and counted it again in front of everyone. "Thanks for the business, sir," he said, tucking the money into his pocket. "Wait," Arthur said, holding the boy's arm. "Where did you learn about Rolls-Royces? These cars have complex systems, cutting-edge technology." "I learned by reading. I have all the technical manuals at home. My dad always says knowledge doesn't take up space." "Rolls-Royce technical manuals? Rolls-Royce, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Bugatti, all the ones I can find online. I study every day after school." Arthur looked at the grease-stained boy who had just earned 7,000 CAD repairing in 15 minutes a problem the dealership would take hours to solve, and felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Humility. "What's your name?" he asked. "Leo Benoit." "Leo Benoit," Arthur repeated. "You impressed me today. Thank you, sir." Leo picked up his toolbox and began walking back to the garage. Arthur watched him leave, feeling that something had changed that day. He had been defeated by a child, publicly humiliated, but strangely, he felt no rage. "Arthur," Brendan called, "did you see what I saw? I saw a 1-2-year-old kid fix a Rolls-Royce in 15 minutes. "No," Brendan showed his cell phone. "I saw this on the screen." The video he had recorded already had 15,000 views and was being shared frantically. People weren't laughing at Arthur. They were impressed with Leo. "The kid went viral," Brendan said. "Look at the comments." Arthur read some. "This kid is a genius. I want him to fix my car. Talent has no age." The millionaire had to swallow his pride. Arthur closed his eyes. That day should have been humiliating, but somehow he felt he had learned something important. "Let's go," he said, getting into the Rolls-Royce, which now worked perfectly. "I have work to do." But as he drove back to the office, he couldn't stop thinking about the boy. Leo Benoit, a name he wouldn't soon forget. What Arthur didn't know was that this encounter was just the beginning. Destiny was about to intertwine their lives in a way neither of them could imagine. Leo entered the garage with 7,000 CAD in his pocket, his heart still racing from the adrenaline. Mark Benoit, his father, was underneath an old Honda Civic, only his legs showing. The sound of tools resonated in the small, cramped space that served as both a workshop and almost a home for the two. "Dad, you won't believe what happened," Leo said, pulling the money from his pocket. Mark slid out from under the car, his face marked by the wrinkles of someone who had worked hard all his life. He was 42, but looked 10 years older. He wiped his hands on a rag and looked at his son with tired but loving eyes. "What did you do now, my son?" "I fixed a Rolls-Royce Phantom on the street and earned this." Leo showed the money, the bills still new and fresh-smelling. Mark looked at it, completely incredulous. 7,000 CAD? "Leo, where did you get this money?" "I swear, Dad." A Rolls-Royce broke down in front of the garage. The owner was an arrogant man who laughed at me. He bet I couldn't fix it. I did it in 15 minutes. Mark took the money, counting the bills as if they might disappear at any moment. "Son, this is 4 months' rent. This is food on the table. This is proof that you taught me well," Leo completed, smiling. Tears welled in Mark's eyes. He hugged his son tightly, feeling immense pride mixed with deep sadness. Leo was brilliant, talented, capable of things he himself would never achieve. But all that was being wasted in a neighborhood garage, repairing old cars for a pittance. "You deserve more than this, Leo," Mark said, his voice choked. "You deserve to study in a good school, to have real teachers, not to stay here in this dirty garage." "Dad, don't say that. You taught me everything. You're the best teacher I could have. But I can't give you what you need. I can't afford private school, technical courses, university. We'll make it, Dad. With this money, we can start saving." Mark nodded, wiping his eyes. "You're right. We'll save. We'll make this money go far." What neither of them knew was that at that exact moment, Arthur Sterling was in his luxurious office, watching Leo's video fixing the Rolls-Royce go viral on social media. It already had 500,000 views and was growing exponentially. "This is incredible," Charlotte Sterling said, entering her father's office with her phone in her hand. At 17, she was everything Arthur expected in a daughter. Intelligent, beautiful, educated, but lately, she had been questioning her father's values more and more. "Dad, did you see the video? It already has over 500,000 views." "I saw it," Arthur replied dryly, shuffling papers on his desk. "And you don't think it's incredible? A 1-2-year-old kid fixing a Rolls-Royce? I think he got lucky. He probably saw the problem before on another car." "Lucky, Dad?" "He diagnosed the problem just by listening to the sound. That's pure talent." Arthur sighed. He didn't like to admit it, but his daughter was right. That kid had something special, something he himself didn't have despite all his millions. "What do you want me to do, Charlotte? Give him a trophy? I want you to recognize talent when you see it. That kid could be working for you, learning more, growing. He's a 1-2-year-old kid. There are labor laws, Charlotte. I can't just hire a child, but you can help. You can pay for a course, a better school. And why would I do that?" Charlotte looked at her father with disappointment. "Because you have the power to change his life. Because you have enough money not to even notice the difference. Because it would be the right thing to do." Arthur fell silent. His daughter had the irritating gift of always hitting the right sore spots. "I'll think about it," he finally said. "Don't think too long. Opportunities like this don't wait." Charlotte left the office, leaving Arthur alone with his thoughts. He rewatched the video, paying attention to every detail. The way Leo moved, the confidence in his gestures, the surgical precision that wasn't luck. It was years of practice, study, dedication. And then he saw something he hadn't noticed before. In the background of the video, for a few seconds, the garage where Leo had taken the tools appeared. It was a minuscule place with old equipment, peeling walls. But above the door was a sign, "Benoit and Son Auto Repair." "Benoit and Son," Arthur murmured. "So the father really is a mechanic." He grabbed his cell phone and called his personal assistant. "Liam, I need you to investigate an auto repair shop for me. Benoit and Son. It's on Yonge Street, near where my car broke down today." "Investigate, sir? What do you want to know?" "Everything. How long have they been in business? Financial situation. Owner's history. I want a full report by tomorrow morning." "Yes, sir." Arthur hung up and looked at the video again. It had almost 1 million views now. People were sharing, commenting, making montages. Leo Benoit had become a small internet celebrity in a matter of hours. That night, in the humble home Mark and Leo shared in a distant neighborhood, father and son were eating rice and eggs when Leo's phone started ringing non-stop. "What's going on?" Mark asked, Worried, Leo picked up the phone, and his eyes widened. "Dad, today's video has 1 million views." 1 million? How? People are sharing it. Look at the comments. Mark read some. Incredulous. This kid is more competent than many certified mechanics. Someone hire this kid before another country steals him. Canada wasting talent as always. I want to take my car just so he can fix it. Son, this is serious. People are recognizing you. But that's good. It can bring more customers to the garage. Mark was about to answer when there was a knock at the door. It was late, past 10 p.m. He went to open it cautiously and found an elegant woman in her 40s with a microphone in her hand and a cameraman behind her. "Good evening. I'm Sarah Dubois from CTV News. We're looking for Leo Benoit, the boy who fixed the Rolls-Royce today." Mark froze. "CTV? How did you find out where we live?" "The video is viral, sir. We did some research and found the garage's address. The neighbors pointed us to your house. Can we do a quick interview with Leo?" "I don't know. He's a minor. Dad, it's okay." Leo appeared behind his father. "I want to talk." The reporter smiled. "Great. It can be right here at the door. It'll be quick." They turned on the cameras, and Sarah began. "I'm here with Leo Benoit, the 1-2-year-old boy who went viral today after repairing a Rolls-Royce Phantom on Yonge Street. Leo, how did you learn to do this?" Leo looked at the camera naturally. "My dad has taught me since I was little. He's the best mechanic there is." Mark felt his eyes fill with tears again. "And how did you know what to do on such a complex car?" "I study. I read technical manuals. I watch videos. I practice every day. Every car is a machine, and every machine has logic. You just have to understand how the parts work together." "Do you intend to pursue a career in this field?" "Yes. I want to study mechanical engineering, open my own company someday. But first, I need to help my dad grow the garage we have. And what would you say to the people who are watching?" Leo thought for a moment. "That talent has nothing to do with money or expensive schools. It has to do with dedication. My dad taught me that. He never had much, but he always had wisdom." The interview lasted barely 5 minutes, but when it aired on the evening news, it caused an even greater impact. People not only admired Leo's skill, but they identified with his story of overcoming challenges. Arthur watched the interview at home, alone in his gigantic living room. He listened to every word from Leo. He saw the way the boy spoke of his father with love and respect. He felt something strange in his chest, a mix of admiration and envy. His own son, Raphael, had died 5 years ago in a car accident. He was the same age as Leo at that time. Since then, Arthur had thrown himself into work, accumulating wealth but losing the ability to feel. Charlotte was all he had left, but he knew he was losing her too with his arrogance and coldness. "Dad, did you see the interview?" Charlotte entered the living room. "I saw it. And what? Don't you feel like helping? Doing something?" Arthur remained silent for a long moment. "What do you want me to do, Charlotte?" "I don't know, but you have resources, contacts, power. That kid has talent. Together you could." "Could what? I don't need a partner, much less a 1-2-year-old kid. It's not about what you need. It's about what he needs from you. And why would that be my problem?" Charlotte looked at her father with sadness. "Because before you became this cold and calculating person, you were a good man. Remember when Raphael was alive? You said you wanted to leave a legacy, make a difference in people's lives. The name of his dead son hit Arthur like a punch. Don't talk about Raphael. If anyone has to talk, do you think he'd be proud of what you've become? A man who has everything but shares nothing. Get out of here, Charlotte. You don't need to hear this. That kid is the same age Raphael was when he died. He has talent. He has dreams. He has a future. You can help him achieve that future." "I told you to get out," Arthur shouted, getting up from the armchair. Charlotte stepped back, tears in her eyes. "You're impossible," she said before running out. Arthur was left alone again, trembling with rage and pain. He hated when Charlotte brought up that subject. He hated remembering the son he had lost. He hated feeling anything. But that night, when he finally went to sleep, he dreamt of Raphael. In the dream, his son was alive, smiling, playing with toy cars. And next to him was Leo, teaching Raphael to repair the small machines. "Dad," Raphael said in the dream, "Leo is my friend. You're going to help him, aren't you?" Arthur woke up sweating, his heart racing. 3 a.m. He took out his cell phone and reread the report Liam had sent about Benoit and Son Auto Repair, founded 15 years ago. Owner Mark Benoit, 42 years old, widower. Wife passed away 3 years ago due to health complications. One son, Leo Benoit, 12 years old, precarious financial situation. Debts to suppliers, 3 months overdue rent, obsolete equipment. Average monthly revenue, 3,500 CAD. Neighborhood reputation, excellent, known for honesty and good work. 3,500 CAD a month. Arthur spent more than that on a single meal at expensive restaurants, and this man was raising a genius on that ridiculous amount. He took out his cell phone and wrote a message to Liam. I want to schedule a meeting with Mark Benoit tomorrow at noon in my office. He hesitated before sending. What exactly did he want? Why was he doing this? He couldn't answer those questions, but he pressed send anyway. Liam replied immediately. Yes, sir. Preferred time, noon. And Liam, sir, be polite when inviting. It's not an order, it's an invitation. Understood, sir. Arthur turned off his phone and looked at the ceiling. He felt he was about to make a decision that would change everything. He didn't know if it was good or bad, but for the first time in 5 years, he felt he was doing something right. The next morning, Mark received a call from an unknown number. Hello, Mr. Mark Benoit. Good morning. My name is Liam O'Connell. I'm Mr. Arthur Sterling's assistant. Mark almost dropped the phone. Arthur Sterling, the Rolls-Royce owner? Exactly. Mr. Sterling would like to invite you to a meeting today at noon in our office. Would that be possible? A meeting about what? About your son, sir, and about opportunities. Mark looked at Leo, who was organizing tools in the corner of the garage. Opportunities? Yes, sir. Mr. Sterling was very impressed with Leo's talent and would like to discuss some possibilities. May I confirm your presence? Mark didn't know if he should trust, but something in Liam's polite voice convinced him. All right, noon. Where? Liam gave him the address, and Mark wrote it down with trembling hands. Dad, who was that? Leo asked when he hung up. It was the man from the Rolls-Royce. He wants to talk to us. About what? I don't know, son, but I think we're about to find out. At noon, Mark and Leo stood in front of the most luxurious commercial building in Toronto. Mirrored glass, security at the door, imported cars in the parking lot. They felt completely out of place in their simple clothes and grease-stained hands that no soap could completely clean. Dad, I'm scared, Leo whispered. Me too, son, but we're going in. The security guard stopped them at the door. Can I help you? We have a meeting with Mr. Arthur Sterling, Mark said, trying to sound confident. The guard checked a list and nodded. 40th floor. Elevator to the right. As they went up in the mirrored elevator, Mark and Leo saw their reflections. Two simple, hard-working men in a world not made for them. But when the doors opened, Liam greeted them with a genuine smile. Mr. Mark, Leo, welcome. Please follow me. They were led to a meeting room with a panoramic view of the city. Arthur stood, looking out the window with his back to them. Mr. Sterling, your guests have arrived, Liam announced before leaving. Arthur turned slowly. For the first time, Mark saw the man who had humiliated his son, but he also saw something in his eyes he didn't expect. Respect. Mr. Mark, Leo, thank you for coming, Arthur said, gesturing to the chairs. Please, sit down. We have a lot to talk about. And as they sat down, none of them imagined that this conversation would change their lives forever. The meeting room felt even larger with the heavy silence that settled after Arthur's invitation to sit. Mark pulled a chair for Leo and then sat next to his son, his sweaty hands resting on his knees. They had never been in such a luxurious place. The solid wood table gleamed under the indirect light. The paintings on the walls probably cost more than the entire garage, and the panoramic view of Toronto through the floor-to-ceiling windows was breathtaking. Arthur remained standing for a few seconds, studying the two. Father and son wore the same simple clothes from the day before, clean but worn by time and work. Both their hands had grease stains that no soap could completely remove, permanent marks of those who work with their own hands. They were the absolute opposite of everything that office represented. Would you like water, coffee, juice? Arthur offered, trying to break the ice. Water is fine, thank you, Mark replied, his voice softer than he intended. Arthur poured 3 glasses of water from a crystal carafe and finally sat across from them. Leo watched every movement with those attentive eyes that missed no detail, the same attention he applied to studying engines and machines. Mr. Mark, Leo, Arthur began, clasping his hands on the table. I called you because I need to say a few things. First, about yesterday, Mark straightened in his chair, ready to defend his son if necessary. I was disrespectful, arrogant. I treated your son as if he were incapable, when in reality he is extraordinarily talented. Arthur paused, the words clearly costing his pride. I want to apologize to both of you. The apology took Mark completely by surprise. He had expected many things, perhaps a lawsuit for Leo having touched the car without formal authorization, perhaps a proposal to return the money, even a threat, but a genuine apology from a man like Arthur Sterling. That he did not expect. "Mr. Sterling," Mark said carefully, "my son did an honest job. You paid the agreed amount. There's nothing to apologize for." "Yes, there is," Arthur insisted. "I paid for the service, but I didn't pay for the humiliation, for the laughter, for treating him as if he were less capable just for being a child and poor." The word poor resonated in the room like a gunshot. Leo lowered his eyes, and Mark felt rage begin to boil, but he controlled himself. "We are poor, Mr. Sterling," Leo said suddenly, raising his eyes with a dignity that surprised even Arthur. "But that doesn't mean we're foolish. My dad taught me that dignity is priceless, and knowledge doesn't need money to be acquired." Arthur smiled, a sad, almost melancholic smile. "Your father taught well, better than many wealthy parents managed to teach their children." There was a moment of silence where the three men, because Leo, even at 12, carried himself like a man, measured each other with their eyes. "But it wasn't just to apologize that I called you here," Arthur continued, opening a folder on the table. "I investigated your garage." Mark tensed. "Investigated? Yes. I know you have debts to suppliers, that the rent is 3 months overdue, that the equipment is obsolete, and that your monthly revenue barely covers basic bills. That's none of your business," Mark said, his voice harder now. "I know, and normally it wouldn't be. But after seeing your son's talent, after seeing the interview last night, after seeing how you speak of each other with love and respect," Arthur paused, taking a deep breath. "I have a proposal." "What kind of proposal?" Mark asked, suspicious. Arthur opened the folder and pulled out several documents. "I want to invest in your garage. I want to modernize it, equip it with cutting-edge tools, create a training center specializing in luxury cars." Mark's mouth fell open. "Invest? Why?" "Because Canada is full of wasted talent. People like Leo who could be changing the world, but are trapped in situations that don't allow for growth. I have the money, you have the talent. Together, we could create something extraordinary." "And what do you gain from that?" Mark asked, still suspicious. In his experience, rich people never did anything without gaining something in return. "A share of the profits, 30% of the garage would be mine. You keep 70% and full control of operations. I only invest money and bring high-level clients." Leo looked at his father, trying to read his expression. Mark was processing the information, clearly torn between the opportunity and his distrust. "How much investment are we talking about?" Mark asked. 500,000 CAD initially, Arthur replied calmly. Mark almost fell out of his chair. 500,000 CAD was more money than he had seen in his entire life combined. 500, 0, he stammered. "To start, modern equipment, complete renovation of the space, specialized training for you and Leo, marketing, official certifications. I want to transform Benoit and Son into the benchmark for luxury vehicle maintenance in Toronto." "But, Mr. Sterling," Leo intervened, "why would you do this? You yourself said yesterday that we're a small-time garage." Arthur closed his eyes, ashamed of his own words. "I said terrible things yesterday, things my son, things my late son would be ashamed to hear." "Your son?" Mark asked softly. "Raphael died 5 years ago in a car accident. He was 12, the same age as Leo." The room fell silent. Mark felt his heart tighten. He knew what it was like to lose someone loved. He had lost his wife 3 years ago. "I'm so sorry," Mark said sincerely. "Thank you." Arthur took a deep breath. Raphael was passionate about cars. He spent hours watching mechanic videos, taking apart toys to understand how they worked. He wanted to be a mechanical engineer when he grew up. Leo felt a knot in his throat. It was exactly what he wanted. "When I saw your son yesterday," Arthur continued, his voice choked, "when I saw the way he works, the passion in his eyes, the precision in his movements, I saw Raphael. I saw what my son could have been if he had had the chance to grow." Tears began to stream down Arthur's face. A man who hadn't cried in years, who had built an armor of coldness and arrogance to avoid feeling the pain of loss. "That's why I want to invest," he said, wiping his eyes unashamedly. "I can't bring my son back, but I can help another father give his son the opportunities I never managed to give mine." Mark was also crying now. 2 widowers, 2 fathers who knew the pain of loss, sitting in a luxury room sharing a grief that money could never cure. "Mr. Sterling," Mark said, his voice trembling, "I don't know what to say. Say you accept. Say you'll let me do this. Not for me, but for Leo, for the extraordinary talent he has." Leo looked at his father. awaiting his decision. Mark was clearly struggling internally. Pride said to refuse, not to accept charity, but love for his son said to accept, to give Leo the opportunities he deserved. "Dad," Leo said softly, "remember what you always say, that we can't let pride hinder progress." Mark looked at his son and smiled through his tears. "When did you get so wise?" "I learned from the best teacher in the world," Leo replied, taking his father's hand. Mark took a deep breath and looked at Arthur. "We have conditions." "Of course. What are they?" "First, my son continues his studies. School always comes before the garage." "I completely agree," Arthur said. "In fact, I want to add that to the contract. Leo will have a full scholarship to one of the best private schools in Toronto, Maplewood Academy." Mark's eyes widened. "You would do that?" "I would. Talent without education is wasted. Leo needs a strong theoretical foundation to complement his practical skills." "Second condition," Mark continued, "we maintain control of operations. You invest, but you don't interfere in the day-to-day." "Perfect. I don't understand mechanics as much as you do. It would be foolish of me to interfere." "Third condition," Mark said, more serious now. "If at any point you treat my son disrespectfully again, the agreement ends instantly, no matter how much money is involved." Arthur extended his hand. "You have my word, and if I break that word, you can keep everything. Garage, equipment, clients, everything." Mark shook his hand, feeling that he was making a deal that would change everything. "So, do we have a deal?" Arthur asked. "We have a deal," Mark replied. Leo smiled. That wide, genuine smile of a child who still believed the world could be good. "Excellent," Arthur said, taking the documents. "I'll ask my lawyer to prepare the contracts. Meanwhile, I want you to make a list of everything you need: tools, equipment, renovations, no limit on value. I want to start as soon as possible." "Mr. Luff." "Sterling," Leo said, "can I ask a question?" "Of course. Why did you change?" "Yesterday, you were different." Arthur smiled sadly. "My daughter Charlotte told me something last night. She said, before you became this cold and calculating person, you were a good man. Raphael would be proud." "And would he be?" Leo asked with the brutal honesty only children have. "Of the man I was yesterday, no. But of the man I'm trying to be today, I hope so." At that moment, the door opened, and Charlotte entered without knocking. At 17, she had her father's determination, but with a heart not yet hardened by life. "Dad, I heard you were here and—" She stopped when she saw Mark and Leo. "Excuse me, I didn't know you were still in a meeting." "It's all right, Charlotte. Come. I want to introduce you. This is Mark Benoit and his son, Leo." Charlotte approached and extended her hand to both with a genuine smile. "It's a pleasure to meet you both in person. I'm your biggest fan, Leo. I've watched the video like 20 times. Leo blushed. "Thank you. You're incredible." At 12, doing things experienced mechanics can't. "How did you learn all that?" "My dad taught me," Leo replied, always giving credit to his father. Charlotte looked at Mark with respect. "So, you're the real genius here." Mark shook his head, embarrassed. No, Leo is the one with a special gift." "You two are special," Charlotte said. "And Dad, are you really going to invest in their garage?" "I am," Arthur replied, and there was pride in his voice. Charlotte hugged her father, something she hadn't done in months. "I'm so proud of you, Dad. You're doing the right thing." Arthur felt his eyes fill with tears again. He hadn't known he was so desperate for his daughter's approval until that moment. "Leo," Charlotte said, turning her attention to the boy, "can I ask you a favor?" "Sure. Could you teach me about mechanics? About cars? I always wanted to learn, but my dad I never thought you'd be interested," Arthur interrupted, surprised. "Dad, I always was interested, but you always said that's not for young ladies, remember?" Arthur felt ashamed, another of his prejudiced attitudes exposed. "I'd love to teach you," Leo said, smiling. "My dad always says that shared knowledge is multiplied knowledge." "Your dad is very wise," Charlotte said, looking at Mark with admiration. Mark was red with a mix of embarrassment and pride. He had never received so much positive attention in his life. "Well," Arthur said, getting up, "I think we have a lot of work ahead of us. Mark, Leo, how about we have lunch together? We can discuss the project details while we eat." "Mr. Sterling, we're not dressed appropriately for a fine restaurant," Mark said, looking at his own clothes. "Then let's eat somewhere casual. I know an excellent restaurant that serves home-cooked food. No pretensions." "Dad going to eat at a casual restaurant? I have to take a picture of that," Charlotte joked. They left the office together, the millionaire, his daughter, the mechanic, and the child prodigy. In the eyes of the employees who saw them pass, they were just 4 people, but for each of them, it was the beginning of something that would completely change their lives. Saturday morning began with Charlotte Sterling arriving at Benoit and Son Auto Repair at 7:30 sharp, wearing old jeans and a simple t-shirt that was probably the cheapest clothing she owned. Her hair was tied back in a ponytail, and she had a backpack on her back. Mark and Leo were already working. Their routine began at 6 a.m. every day without exception. "Good morning," she called from the door, a little shy seeing the interior of the garage for the first time. Leo emerged from under an old Honda Civic, wiping his hands on a rag. "Charlotte, you actually came?" "Of course I came. I promised, didn't I?" Mark approached too, wiping his hands. "Good morning, Charlotte. Your dad knows you're here?" "Yes, in fact, he sent this." She pulled a thermal bag from her backpack. "Breakfast. He said you probably work early without eating well." Mark opened the bag and found fresh pastries, ham, cheese, natural orange juice, and fruit. It was more food than he and Leo ate in an entire week. This is very kind," he said, touched by the gesture. "My dad's trying," Charlotte explained. "Last night, he wouldn't stop talking about you, about the plans for the garage. I haven't seen him so animated in years." They had an impromptu breakfast at an old table in the corner of the garage. While they ate, Leo explained the cars they were repairing to Charlotte. 3 in total, all popular models with simple problems. "This Civic belongs to Mrs. Henderson," Leo pointed. "She's a taxi driver. The car had a problem with the starter motor. The part costs 200 CAD new, but I found a used one in good condition for 50. She doesn't have much money to pay. Do you give discounts to people who can't afford it?" Charlotte asked. "We charge what's fair," Mark explained. "Mrs. Henderson works hard. I'm not going to charge her the same as I would someone with more means. But then you lose money. Money, we can always earn more," Mark said simply. "Dignity and a clear conscience are priceless." Charlotte looked at these 2 men, father and son, who had so little but gave so much, and felt ashamed of the way she had always lived, surrounded by luxury but empty of purpose. "Can I help?" she asked. "Sure," Leo brightened. "Come on, I'll teach you the basics." They spent the whole morning working together. Leo was patient, explaining each tool, each component, each procedure. Charlotte learned quickly and wasn't afraid to get her hands dirty, literally. In 2 hours, she was covered in grease and sweat, but smiling more than she had in months. "This is incredible," she said after helping Leo change a car's oil. "It's so real. It's not theory in books. It's practice. That's why I love it," Leo said. "Every car is a different problem, a new challenge. It's like solving puzzles, but puzzles that help real people." Mark watched the 2 young people working and smiled. Leo had always been a loner. Schoolmates found him strange for preferring to study engines over playing video games. But there he was, animated, teaching, making friends. Around noon, a black Mercedes-Benz pulled up in front of the garage. It was a recent model, impeccable, completely out of the standard of cars that normally appeared there. A man in his 50s, expensive suit, arrogant posture, stepped out of the car. It was Brendan Thorne, one of Arthur's partners who had witnessed the Rolls-Royce scene. "Excuse me," he said, entering the garage, as if he were stepping on garbage. "I'm looking for the so-called child prodigy." Leo stood up, recognizing the man immediately. "That would be me, sir." Brendan looked Leo up and down with poorly disguised contempt. "So it's really you, the kid who went viral fixing Arthur's car?" "Yes, sir. Can I help you with anything?" "Can you?" "My Mercedes has a strange noise in the engine. I've taken it to 3 specialized garages, and no one could identify the problem." "And you came here?" Mark asked, surprised. "I came to test if the kid is really good, or if it was just luck with the Rolls-Royce." The way he said luck made it clear he was there to challenge, not to genuinely seek help. "I can take a look," Leo said calmly. "How much do you charge?" "It depends on the problem, but first I need to diagnose it." Brendan tossed the car keys to Leo with disdain. "Let's see what you can do." Leo took the keys and went to the Mercedes. He started the engine and listened carefully, his head slightly tilted, his eyes closed. After a minute, he turned it off and opened the hood. "How long to figure it out?" Brendan asked, ostentatiously looking at his watch. "I've already figured it out," Leo replied. "The problem is with the alternator belt tensioner. It's loose. That's why the belt vibrates and makes noise. It's not serious yet, but if it's not repaired, it will damage the belt and can cause greater damage." Brendan fell silent, clearly surprised. "How do you know that?" by the sound. The belt's vibration has a specific frequency. I learned to identify it by listening. And can you fix it? I can, but not here. I need specific equipment to adjust the tensioner with the correct precision. If I do it wrong, it could get worse. So, you can't fix it, Brendan said with a triumphant smile, as if he had proven Leo was a fraud. I didn't say that. I said I can't fix it here with the equipment we have now, but I can recommend a specialized Mercedes garage that has the right tools. Or you can wait a few weeks until our renovation is ready. A few weeks? What renovation? It was Mark who responded, "We're forming a partnership with Arthur Sterling. He's going to invest in modernizing the garage." Brendan's expression changed completely. Arthur is investing here? 500,000 CAD initially. Brendan was visibly disturbed by the information. Arthur didn't tell me anything about this. Perhaps because it's none of your business, Charlotte said, emerging from the back of the garage with a sour look. She had recognized Brendan immediately. He dined at her house frequently, and always treated her with that invasive gaze that made her uncomfortable. Charlotte. Brendan's eyes widened. What are you doing here? And in that state? She looked at her own grease-stained hands and smiled proudly. I'm learning mechanics. Is there a problem? Your dad knows you're here? He knows and approves, unlike you, who apparently came here to conduct a quality test, as if you owned the truth. Brendan turned red with rage. Charlotte, this is no place for you. Come on, I'll take you home. No, thank you. I'm perfectly fine here. Charlotte, I insist, and I refuse. Now, if you no longer need Leo's services, please remove your car. There are other clients waiting. It was a lie. No one was waiting. But Charlotte had learned to use her father's authoritative tone when necessary. Brendan looked at everyone there, the child prodigy, the mechanic father, and his partner's daughter, and completely comfortable in that humble environment, and felt something he didn't expect to feel. Envy. Envy of the simplicity, the authenticity, the genuine connection these people had. How much do I owe you for the consultation? He asked Leo, pulling out his wallet. You don't owe me anything. Diagnosing isn't a service, it's courtesy. Courtesy? Brendan repeated incredulously. Yes, sir. You only pay me if I actually fix something. Brendan took out 200 CAD and placed them on the counter. Then, this is for honesty. It seems to be scarce in the world. Leo took the money but didn't feel happy about it. It seemed more like an insult disguised as a compliment. Brendan left the garage, got into his Mercedes, and drove off without looking back. As soon as the car disappeared, Charlotte exploded. What a horrible man. He's always been like that, arrogant, believing he's better than everyone. You know him well? Mark asked. Unfortunately, he's been my dad's partner for 10 years. He's always been fake. Always tried to take advantage of everything. I don't trust him one bit. Then why is your dad his partner? Leo asked. Because Brendan is good at making money, but that doesn't make him a good person. Mark put the 200 CAD in the drawer. Well, at least he paid. Money is money, no matter who it comes from. Dad's right, Leo agreed. We can't choose our clients by their personality. They went back to work, but Brendan's visit had left a bitter taste in the air. Charlotte especially was worried. She knew Brendan well enough to know he did nothing without ulterior motives. At the end of the afternoon, as Charlotte was getting ready to leave, Arthur arrived at the garage. He was driving himself, which was unusual for him, and had a worried expression. Dad, what are you doing here? Charlotte asked. I need to speak with Mark in private. Mark looked at Leo and Charlotte. Can you two go for a walk? Go get ice cream, anything. Leo was about to protest, but Charlotte took his arm. Come on, my treat. Let them talk. When they were alone, Arthur went straight to the point. Brendan was here today. He was. How do you know? He called me, said he's concerned about my investment in a back alley garage without proper structure. Mark felt his anger rise. Back alley garage? He came here to test Leo, and my son diagnosed his Mercedes problem in a minute. I know. I'm not questioning your competence. I'm warning you that Brendan is going to try to sabotage our partnership. Sabotage? Why? Because Brendan doesn't like it when I do something without consulting him first. And because he envies anything good that happens to other people. What can he do? Arthur sighed. He has influence. He knows people in the automotive sector, in regulatory bodies, in suppliers. If he wants to make it difficult for you to get certifications, parts, permits, he can do it. Mark sat down, feeling the weight of reality. So, you're saying our partnership is threatened before it even begins? No. I'm saying it's going to be harder than we imagined, but not impossible. Arthur, look around. I have debts, old equipment, clients who can barely pay. If your partner decides to destroy me, He'll succeed easily. Not if I don't let him, Arthur said with determination. Brendan is my partner, but that doesn't mean he controls me. I've made my decision. I'm investing in your garage, and no one is going to stop me. But what if that affects your businesses? What if you lose money because of me? Mark, I have more money than I'll be able to spend in 3 lifetimes. I can lose a few million and not even notice a difference in my standard of living. But you two, you will feel every dollar of this investment. You will transform this into something significant. How can you be so sure? Because I saw Leo work. I saw how you raised him. I saw the values you have. I've invested millions in companies that looked promising on paper, but failed because the people behind them lacked character. You have it, and that's worth more than any business plan. Mark felt his eyes fill with tears. Why do you trust us so much? Because you reminded me what truly matters. Because you gave me hope again. Because Arthur paused, his voice choked. Because helping you is the way I found to honor my son. Raphael would have loved to know Leo. He would have loved to see a child with so much talent having the opportunities he never had. The two men fell silent for a moment, each processing their own emotions. So, what do we do about Brendan? Mark finally asked. We do our job well, so well that even he won't be able to deny the quality. We're going to make this garage so good that when people hear Benoit and Son, they'll think of excellence. That will take time. We have time, and we have talent, and now we have resources. It's enough. Arthur extended his hand again. We're in this together. Mark shook his hand firmly. We are. When Leo and Charlotte returned from ice cream, they found the two men smiling and discussing plans for the renovation. Everything resolved? Charlotte asked. Everything resolved? Arthur confirmed. By the way, I brought something for you. He went to the car and returned with a huge box. Leo, this is for you. Leo opened the box, and his eyes widened. They were technical manuals, dozens of them, from every luxury car brand imaginable. Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, Bentley, Aston Martin. Some were rare editions. Others were recent updates that cost hundreds of dollars each. This must have cost a fortune, Mark said, gaping. It did, but seeing Leo's face now is priceless. Leo was leafing through the manuals with reverence, as if they were sacred treasures. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you. Really. No, Leo. Thank you for reminding me why I got into this business so many years ago. It wasn't for the money, it was for the passion for machines, for the desire to understand how things work. Charlotte watched her father interacting with Leo and Mark and perceived a change in him. His shoulders were less tense. His smile was more genuine. His eyes had a sparkle she hadn't seen in years. These two humble mechanics were doing something for her father that years of therapy couldn't achieve. They were making him feel human again. Dad, she said, I think this was the best decision you ever made. I think so too, daughter. I think so too. That night, after Arthur and Charlotte left, Mark and Leo stayed in the garage late, studying the new manuals. The dim light of the single bulb illuminated their heads bent over the books, father and son, absorbing knowledge like sponges. Dad, Leo said at one point, do you know what Arthur is expecting? Mark looked at his son, 12 years old, tired eyes but full of determination, small hands but skilled beyond his age. Son, we've already achieved something many people never achieve in a lifetime. What? We got someone to believe in us, and when someone believes, anything becomes possible. Leo smiled and returned to studying the manuals. He had so much to learn, so much to do, so much to prove, but for the first time in his life, he felt he had the right tools, not just physical ones, but emotional ones too. He had a father who supported him, a mentor who believed in him, and a friend who saw him as an equal. The future was still uncertain. Brendan Thorne represented a real threat. The garage renovation would be a huge challenge. The new school would be a difficult adjustment, but none of that mattered now, because for the first time, Leo Benoit believed he could be more than a poor kid from a neighborhood garage. He could be an engineer, an entrepreneur, a teacher. He could be everything he dreamed. And dreams, when fueled by hard work and supported by the right people, have a strange way of becoming reality. Leo had never felt as happy as on his first Monday at Maplewood Academy. The new uniform still smelled of fresh fabric, the backpack full of notebooks without a single line written, and the wide hallways seemed a completely different world from the public school he attended before. In physics class, the professor presented a complex problem on thermodynamics applied to combustion engines. Leo solved it in 3 minutes, leaving the entire class silent. Impressive, Leo, the professor said. You really understand this deeply. During recess, classmates approached curiously. You're the kid from the video, right? the one who fixed the Rolls-Royce. For the first time in his life, Leo felt accepted, admired. The joy lasted until 11:15 a.m., when his cell phone vibrated with a call from Mark. "Dad," he answered, stepping out of the classroom. "Everything okay?" The voice that answered was trembling, broken. "Son, the garage was shut down." Leo's world stopped. "What? Shut down? How?" "Delegation inspectors arrived half an hour ago. They said we have structural irregularities, that we don't have the correct permits, that the equipment isn't up to code." Mark paused, and Leo could hear the desperation in his breathing. "Son, they sealed everything. We can't work or even enter." "But that doesn't make sense. The garage always operated." "I know, but they have documents, official seals. They say someone made an anonymous complaint." Leo felt rage boil. Anonymous complaint. Brendan Thorne. It has to be him. "Dad, did you call Arthur?" "I called him. He's coming." "But Leo," Mark's voice failed. "Without the garage, we have nothing. Clients leave. Debts continue. Everything will be all right, Dad. I'm coming back now." "No, you stay in school. Education comes first." "But, Dad, stay. Please, let me handle this." Leo hung up with a broken heart. He couldn't pay attention to any more classes. At 3 p.m., when school ended, he ran to the bus stop. When he got off near the garage, what he saw made him stop completely. There was a crowd. At least 50 people gathered in front of Benoit and Son, holding signs, shouting, protesting. The garage was sealed with yellow tape, but people didn't care. "Justice for Leo," the signs read. "Talent is not a crime. Let the garage operate." Leo approached, stunned. He recognized Mrs. Henderson, the civic client, with tears in her eyes. Mr. Bouchard, owner of the bakery. Mrs. Campbell, a retired teacher. Dozens of neighborhood people he had known all his life. "Leo, Mrs." Henderson ran to hug him. "My boy, what an injustice." "Mrs. Henderson, what is all this?" "When we heard they closed the garage, we organized. Your dad and you helped everyone here for years. You repaired our cars when we had no money. Now it's our turn to help you." Leo felt his eyes fill with tears. For years, he had felt invisible. Just another poor kid doing what he could. But these people had seen. They had cared. He entered the garage, passing under the closure tape. Mark was sitting on a bench, his head in his hands, while Arthur talked with a man in a suit who wrote everything on a tablet. "Leo," Arthur saw him. "You should be in school. I couldn't stay, not when my dad is losing everything." Mark lifted his head, his eyes red. "Son." Leo hugged his father tightly, feeling him tremble. "We'll solve this, Dad, together." Arthur approached. "I already know who's behind this." "Brendan," Leo said. It wasn't a question. Brendan used contacts in the delegation, paid inspectors to find irregularities. Technically, everything is legal. The garage really didn't have all the updated permits, but the timing was absurdly fast, clearly orchestrated. "And now?" Mark asked, hopeless. "Now we fight. I brought Julian," he pointed to the lawyer, a specialist in administrative law. "We're going to challenge every irregularity, prove bad faith in the inspection, but that's going to take weeks, and meanwhile, we can't work." "I'll cover the expenses," Arthur said. "I'm a partner, remember? If the garage closes, I lose too." Charlotte ran in, phone in hand. "Dad, you have to see this." She showed the screen. It was a viral video, filmed in the crowd. It showed Mrs. Henderson speaking to the camera. "These men, Mark and Leo Benoit, are heroes of this neighborhood. When my car broke down and I had no money, they fixed it for free. This garage isn't a business. It's hope for people who have nowhere else to go." The video already had 500,000 views. "People are on our side," Charlotte said. "All of Canada is seeing this injustice." Leo looked out the window. The crowd had grown. Now there were TV cameras, reporters, cars honking in support. "This is what happens when you truly touch lives," Arthur said. "You matter to a lot of people." Julian closed his tablet. "I have good news. I obtained an emergency injunction. A judge agreed to prioritize the case, considering the social impact. Hearing tomorrow at 10 a.m. Tomorrow?" Mark's eyes widened. "When there's public interest, justice can be fast." And with this commotion, he pointed outside. No judge will want to be the villain. The door burst open. Brendan Thorne entered with 2 security guards. "Arthur, we need to talk. We have nothing more to talk about." "Yes, we do, about you destroying our company for this ridiculous project." "Watch your next words," Arthur said, his voice dangerous. "Or what? You're going to hit me?" Brendan laughed. "You're pathetic. Ever since your son died, you've become a shadow. Now you found this kid and think you can compensate." Newsflash, Raphael is dead. No charity will bring him back. The silence was absolute. Arthur turned white, trembling. It was Mark who stood up, placing himself between the two. Get out of my garage. Your garage? Brendan let out a laugh. This condemned pigsty? I said, get out. Brendan invaded Mark's space. You, a failed mechanic who can barely. He didn't finish. Leo, 12 years old, 4'11" tall, stood in front of his father, facing Brendan. You don't talk to my dad like that. The bravery took Brendan by surprise. Get out of the way, kid. No, my dad is worth more than you ever will be. He taught me honesty, hard work, dignity. What do you teach? How to destroy people out of envy. Envy of you. Brendan laughed nervously. I have millions. Why would I envy a dirty neighborhood kid? Because I have something money can't buy, Leo replied firmly. People who truly love me. A father who would give his life for me. Friends who came to defend our garage. What do you have? Paid guards and a rotten reputation. The crowd outside erupted in applause. Brendan turned red. You're going to regret this. No, he's not going to regret it, Arthur finally spoke, standing next to Leo, because tomorrow I'm going to present evidence that you bribed inspectors. I have recordings, transfers, witnesses. You're going to lose everything. Brendan paled. You have no proof of anything. Arthur played an audio clip on his phone. Brendan's voice. I need you to create difficulties for Benoit and Son. How much does it cost to find serious irregularities? The blood drained from Brendan's face. Where did you get that? An inspector you tried to bribe has a conscience. He recorded everything. So, you're going to leave now, sign papers, withdrawing objections, and sell your share of the company. In exchange, I won't turn this over to the federal prosecutor's office. You can't. Yes, I can. Because if you don't, tomorrow, you'll be in jail for corruption. And with this public visibility, no lawyer will save you. Brendan was cornered. This isn't over. It is over. Now get out and never come near this family again. Brendan left under boos from the crowd. Mark sat down, his legs failing. You really have those proofs? I do. I investigated Brendan a week ago. I discovered much worse things. Why didn't you tell me? Because I needed to be sure. And I didn't want you to worry. Leo looked at Arthur with admiration. You risked everything for us. I did the right thing. Brendan has been poisoning my company for years. You gave me the courage to confront him. Charlotte hugged her father, crying. I'm so proud. The next morning, the hearing was swift. With the recordings, the judge suspended the closure and ordered an investigation against the inspectors. Benoit and Son was released, but when they left the courthouse, over 200 people were waiting. Old clients, neighborhood residents, Maplewood Academy students, journalists. When they saw Mark and Leo, they erupted in applause. Justice has been served. Leo, Leo. Leo looked at the crowd and felt something new, belonging to something bigger, knowing his talent had touched real people. Mark hugged him, crying, We did it, son. No, Dad, you did it. You raised me well. You taught me everything. You gave me a reason to continue. After your mom died, you were my only reason. Arthur watched from a distance with Charlotte. He reminds me so much of Raphael, but Leo isn't Raphael. He's someone new you're helping, and that's beautiful in the same way. I wasted 5 years shut off in pain. I thought honoring Raphael meant never moving on. And now I know that honoring Raphael means doing exactly this. Helping talented kids. It's what my son would have wanted. 3 months later, Benoit and Son was unrecognizable. The small space had been expanded, occupying 2 neighboring units. State-of-the-art equipment, hydraulic lifts, diagnostic computers, everything a mechanic could dream of. The new sign read, Benoit and Son, Automotive Center of Excellence, in partnership with Sterling Luxury Motors, where talent finds opportunity. The inauguration gathered hundreds of people. Leo, in his new uniform, gave the presentation. This garage was always more than just work. It's where I learned that knowledge transforms lives, where my dad taught me that honesty is worth more than profit, where I discovered that talent doesn't need money, it just needs opportunity. Applause resonated. Today, we open not just a renovated garage, but a training center. We're going to offer free courses for young people in the neighborhood, scholarships for the best. We're going to prove that opportunity changes destinies. Mark approached the microphone, shy. I'm not good with words, but I want to thank the one who changed our lives. Arthur Sterling could have continued laughing at my son, but he chose to see beyond prejudice. He chose to believe. Thank you, my friend. Arthur came up, emotional. I am the one who thanks you. You saved me from myself. You reminded me why life is worth living. He looked up at the sky. "Raphael, wherever you are, I hope you're proud." At the end of the day, when the crowd dispersed, Arthur, Charlotte, Mark, and Leo sat in the new office. A room with glass walls, air conditioning, modern computers. "I can't believe this is real," Leo said. "It's real because you deserved it," Arthur replied. "Every piece of equipment here, you earned with talent." Charlotte returned with a box. "Leo, my dad asked me to keep this for you." Leo opened it and found old tools, but impeccable. "They were Raphael's," Arthur explained, his voice choked. "He received them when he turned 10. I kept them after we lost him, but I think he'd want you to have them." Leo held a small wrench. "Mr. Sterling, I can't." "Yes, you can, because you're going to use them to do what Raphael dreamed of. Repair the world, one machine at a time." Leo hugged the tools to his chest. "I'll take care of them, I promise. They're yours now." And Raphael is happy knowing his legacy continues. They stayed there for hours, talking about dreams, future plans. "Leo," Arthur said, "where do you see yourself in 10 years? I want to have graduated in mechanical engineering, expanded this center to other cities, so that no talented child is left behind for lack of opportunity. And you'll achieve it, I'm sure." Mark stood up, extending his hand. "To the true partners." Arthur shook it. "To the true friends." Leo and Charlotte joined them, 4 hands together. "To the talents that transform lives," Charlotte said. "To second chances," Leo completed. Outside, the sun was setting over Toronto. In that small corner, in a garage saved from destruction, 4 people had proven that kindness overcomes cruelty, talent surpasses prejudice, and love can change the world. Leo looked at Raphael's tools and made a silent promise. He would honor that gift by being the best version of himself. Not just for him, but for everyone who believed. Because in the end, the grease-stained boy, ridiculed on any given morning, had proven the most important lesson: talent does not need wealth to shine. It only needs an opportunity. And when that opportunity meets hard work, humility, and a pure heart, no force can prevent success. The following months were a complete transformation. The garage became a benchmark not only in the neighborhood, but throughout the city. Clients with luxury cars lined up to be served by Leo and Mark, but they never abandoned their old clients. Mrs. Henderson still brought her taxi, Mr. Bouchard his delivery van, and everyone received the same dignified treatment. Charlotte became an integral part of the team. She studied automotive mechanics with obsessive dedication, and Leo was a patient teacher. In the evenings, after her high school classes, she would arrive at the garage and work until closing. The relationship between them had evolved from friendship to something deeper. They were like siblings, united by a shared love for machines and mutual respect. "You know what the best part of this is?" Charlotte told him one day, as they cleaned up together after a long day. "It's not just learning mechanics, it's discovering that I can be more than just a rich businessman's daughter. I can be someone useful." "You always were useful," Leo replied. "You just needed to find your purpose, and you helped me find mine, just like you helped my dad find his again." Arthur had changed completely. The coldness that had characterized him since Raphael's death had disappeared. He spent less time in the Sterling Luxury Motors office and more time at the garage, not because he needed to supervise, but because he genuinely enjoyed being there. He had rediscovered the passion that had first drawn him to the automotive world. One afternoon, while watching Leo work on a Ferrari, Arthur felt a familiar presence. It was as if Raphael were there, smiling, proud to see that his father had finally found peace. "Are you all right, Dad?" Charlotte approached, noticing the tears in Arthur's eyes. "I'm more than all right, daughter. For the first time in 5 years, I'm complete." The first anniversary of the partnership was marked with a special ceremony. Leo had finished his first year at Maplewood Academy with the best grades of his generation. At 13, he had already given several lectures on automotive mechanics at public schools, inspiring hundreds of young people to pursue their dreams, regardless of their circumstances. "Ladies and gentlemen," Arthur announced to an audience of over 300 people in the event hall they had rented. "A year ago, I met a boy who taught me that a person's true value is not in their bank account, but in their character. Leo Benoit not only saved my car that day, he saved me." The crowd applauded as Leo stepped onto the stage, still shy with so much attention. "Today," Arthur continued, "I want to announce the expansion of our project. Benoit and Son will open 3 new training centers in different neighborhoods across the city. Each will offer free automotive mechanics courses for underprivileged youth. Because if there's one Leo in this neighborhood, there are hundreds more across the city waiting for their opportunity." The ovation was deafening. Mark cried in the front row, unable to believe how his life had changed. From an indebted mechanic, on the verge of losing everything, he was now co-owner of a prosperous and respected company. But more than money or success, what he valued most was seeing his son happy, fulfilled, with a bright future ahead. That night, after the celebration, the four Arthur, Charlotte, Mark, and Leo went up to the rooftop of the renovated garage building. Toronto stretched before them, millions of lights twinkling in the darkness. "Remember the day we met?" Arthur asked. "How could I forget?" Leo laughed. "You thought I was a charlatan, and I thought you were arrogant and impossible," Mark added. "I was," Arthur admitted unashamedly. "But you showed me a mirror I didn't want to see. You showed me that I had become someone Raphael wouldn't recognize." "Dad," Charlotte said, taking his hand, "Raphael would be proud of the man you are now." "I'm proud." Arthur hugged his daughter, then extended his arms to include Mark and Leo. The four stood there, embraced, looking at the city that had witnessed their transformation. "Do you know what I learned this year?" Mark said. "That family doesn't always come from blood. Sometimes it comes from circumstances, from destiny, from the willingness of two strangers to see beyond their differences." "We're no longer strangers," Arthur said. "We're family, and families support each other, care for each other, grow together." Leo looked at the city lights and thought of all the children down there, in all the poor neighborhoods who had talent but no opportunity. He thought about how a single moment, a broken car, a risky bet, an outstretched hand had changed not only his life but the lives of so many people. "I'm going to dedicate my life to this," he said with conviction, "to finding those children who have talent but no voice, to giving them what you gave me." "You won't do it alone," Charlotte said. "I'm with you." "We're with you," Arthur corrected. "This is just the beginning." The years passed. Leo graduated from Maplewood Academy with honors. He received a full scholarship to study mechanical engineering at the University of Toronto. At 22, he received the award for the best mechanical engineering student in the country. On stage, with the award in his hands, he thanked my dad Mark, who taught me everything, Arthur Sterling, who gave me opportunities, and Raphael, who even though he's not here, inspired me to never give up. Benoit and Son had 12 units across Toronto. Each offered free courses, employed young people from the neighborhood, maintaining the philosophy. Profit is important, but dignity is priceless. Mark managed the company alongside Arthur. They were more than partners, they were brothers. Charlotte had become a mechanical engineer, working at Sterling Luxury Motors, but spending weekends at the garage teaching for free. And Leo became exactly what everyone believed, not just a brilliant mechanic, but an exceptional human being who used his talent to uplift others, because that cruel bet had transformed into the most beautiful story of redemption Canada had ever seen. And every time Leo was asked what his best repair was, he replied, "It wasn't the Rolls-Royce. It was repairing the heart of a man who had forgotten how to love. And in return, he repaired my entire life." In the original garage, now converted into a museum and training center, there was a plaque on the wall. Here it all began, where a child proved that talent knows no bounds, where a man found redemption, where a family was born from the most improbable of circumstances. May this place always remember, a single opportunity can change the world. And every day, hundreds of young people passed through that door, looked at that plaque, and dared to dream, because if Leo Benoit could do it, they could too. And that, in the end, was the true repair. Not of cars, but of hopes. Not of engines, but of lives. Not of machines, but of destinies.